are you someone you know is dependable? I think a dependable person is also someone who is a very safe person because you always know where they stand and like where their lines are and kind of what they're going to do. And the opposite of that, so like the unsafe side, is someone who's chaotic and unstable. And essentially, they're very hot and cold. Like one day you could feel super close to them, and the other day it's like, oh, are we even friends anymore? Hey gals, so I'm doing a solo episode today. So, my question that I'm starting off with is, have you ever realized you keep getting hurt by the same type of person and had to ask yourself if the problem isn't just them, but it's your pattern? So, I thought that that was a pretty interesting question, and it reminded me, I think this is like a universal thing for women, is having like a friend who keeps going back to the same type of guy, and it's just like, why are you going through that pattern? Um, and actually, it kind of makes a lot of sense because people tend to be drawn towards like what is familiar to them. So I actually read a book last year. It's called Safe People. Here, I have it right here. It's by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. So this is just what it looks like. And they really described a beautiful way. They pulled in like biblical principles and all this stuff about, what do safe people look like and what do unsafe people look like. And I loved how they like set up the story of how God created us for relationships. And those are very difficult. And there's some things to kind of look out for while you're navigating friendships, maybe romantic relationships, all of that. So I just kind of wanted to share some things that I learned from the book. I don't remember everything, but I'll try to. I have a little summary right here. So they kind of go on to describe like some traits of unsafe people, and those are people who are defensive and maybe don't take responsibility for things that they have done to like harm the relationship. Like, for example, there was a story of a gal who had, confided in a friend, thinking that it was confidential. And then she found out that it had gotten out, and that really broke like the trust of the relationship. And for whatever reason why that person did that, um, you know, there was this like fractured trust. And I think when you have a person who consistently does this, because I know I have done this actually a couple times in the past couple years, and that really bothered me because I know both times it was unintentional, but it like still really hurt the person, and that's fractured trust. And I think in relationships, like, people want to feel, safe. They want to have this like sort of abode to go into. And when someone does that, which I did, that doesn't create that sort of space. And I think that this is a relationship where you could describe it as unsafe in a way. And, I think we kind of have to, set the sort of land here, that no one's 100% safe or 100% like unsafe. Like, we all kind of have our strengths and our weaknesses. And that's where I think, someone who takes responsibility and says, okay, here I've, wronged the relationship, I've hurt you, and they take like accountability for that in the hopes that they'll make it better, and they'll also plan to make it better. Like, that's someone who is good to be around because you know that they will take up responsibility for that. And I actually love this about my best friend. One of the things about her that I find uniquely just amazing is that you can just have a conversation with her, and if you feel hurt by something she did or something she said, or whatever, and you can bring that up, she will take accountability for it. And not only that, but she'll try to make it better. She'll actually work on it, and she's a person of her word. I have so much respect for that, and that has been so helpful in my life, just being able to trust that, hey, when you say you're going to do something, you are going to do it. That goes back to you're the type of person who cares about your word. You see it as something so valuable. And so that's where like those types of safe people come in. They take accountability. They're not necessarily defensive or deflect or always point the problem back to the person, but it's like, okay, here we're both imperfect humans. We're gonna kind of sort out what strengths and weaknesses we have to try to make the relationship better. And one of the things I love to talk about is arguing. So in all your relationships, you're gonna have arguments, and this is even good relationships. Like, I think good relationships have healthy arguments because you're two people in a relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship, and you have differences. And when people come together, that creates, this sort of friction, which is what an argument is. And I have sort of like, realized over the past couple years is that a good argument with someone is one where you're not trying to break the person down, but you're trying to build the relationship up. It's not necessarily about being right, but about growing closer and aiming for, truth. And when you sort of look at it in that framework where there's two people fighting for the truth, that's also very beautiful. And I think that shows, that's a safe relationship, because it's not like you're avoiding the truth, but you're actively working so you can have a better future with each other. And that doesn't mean avoiding conflict, but it means doing it together. And so I think that is something so beautiful. Like, do you have like a relationship where you've been through a hard time and you come out better and stronger because of it? I think those relationships are like truly stronger, because imagine if you just have a relationship where it's just all kind of, you're just floating along. You never actually like go truly deep with someone, because people are complicated and they're messy and they're really hard. Like, they are seriously really hard. Take it from me. Like, I am someone who I could be alone and I would be perfectly fine with that. And relationships are so hard. Like, they are so complicated. And I'm kind of just banking on the fact that they're, fulfilling. And I think that's what God created us for. So I really love this book. I think there were some things that they, brought up that were really great, and those were a couple of them. One thing of a safe person is that they are consistent over time. And this is one thing that I've also like tried working on myself is, are you someone is dependable? I think a dependable person is also someone who is a very safe person, because you always know where they stand and like where their lines are and kind of what they're going to do. And the opposite of that, so like the unsafe side, is someone who's chaotic and unstable. And essentially they're very hot and cold. Like one day you could feel super close to them, and the other day it's like, oh, are we even friends anymore? And that's always like kind of fascinated me. I sort of wonder like why people tend to do that. And I'm not sure why, but all I know is that sort of trait doesn't, create healthy relationships in the long term, because it gets to this point where it's like, it's so exhausting, like even just like within yourself. Imagine you feeling an emotion where one day you're super sad, but the next day you're super excited, and you just go back and forth for like not a particular reason. Like, that's exhausting for people, or at least for myself. So that's one thing. A trait of a safe relationship is essentially one where you kind of know where you stand with the person, and over a long period of time you're like, okay, I can rely on them. Because that's one thing, is it's super important to rely on someone. Are they going to be there when you need them to be there? Are they going to be helpful when you need them to be helpful? And also, I think this is something to look on for ourselves with all of these sort of traits. Like, everyone is a mix of good and bad traits. And I think one thing that I've been working on myself is like, because I have the proclivity to like being alone, I need to kind of try more to make sure I'm consistently checking up on people, consistently trying to reach a hand for connection for others. And that's how you maintain a sort of, healthy relationship with someone, because I think most people need that sort of like consistency. Um, so yeah, I thought that was a really good, trait as well for a safe relationship. So I hope you guys learned some traits about safe people and unsafe people. And thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you gals later. Bye.